Hello and welcome to PDAC 2024. We're here on the CEO.CA stage. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the @JR Mining guy on Twitter, CEO of the Soar Financial Group. Thanks so much for joining us here for a fantastic panel discussion that we have lined up. I've invited some fantastic guests to discuss young guns in mining. Where's everybody? All right, I invited some young panelists here to discuss what are you guys doing? Like, how are you attracting young mining engineers, geologists, or just investors even to this space? And I think we need to talk about that. It's a big topic that we're trying to squeeze into a very short time frame. Luke Alexander, Caleb Stroup, Curtis Johnson, thanks so much for joining me here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely. Let's start with a quick round of introductions. It's a bit boring when I do it, so I'll let you introduce yourselves real quick. 30 seconds. Luke, who and what are you up to?
Yeah, so I'm Luke Alexander, President and CEO of Newcore Gold. At Newcore, we're advancing the Entice project in Ghana. It's a district-scale exploration project that's fundamentally underpinned by a very robust PEA that we put out in 2021. We are in the process of updating that PEA to include a larger overall resource, and we'll have that out in the first half of this year. So district-scale exploration, Ghana.
Fantastic. Awesome. Caleb, you up?
Stroup, CEO of Headwater Gold in the western U.S. We're targeting high-grade epithermal veins. One specific deposit type that we're focused on. We have a big portfolio of projects and a very active exploration campaign that we've been kicking off the last 2 to 3 years, and now have Newmont, the world's biggest gold mining company, as a strategic partner, which helps us fund a high pace of activity, minimizes our dilution at the corporate level, and allows us to be one of the most active explorers in the western U.S., even as a small company.
Fantastic. Awesome. Curtis.
Curtis Johnson, President and CEO of Scout Discovery, the private company, recent spin-off from EMX Royalty Corporation, where I was at previously. We're focused on Idaho. It's a favorable jurisdiction in the western U.S. Hasn't seen a lot of exploration work in quite a long time. Big portfolio, 15 projects, a lot of early stage up to resource delineation on the gold and copper sides. Funded for a pretty aggressive year.
Fantastic. Awesome. No, thanks so much for the introductions. And I think we should dive right in. We're here at PDAC. And I'm curious what your first impressions are. This is day 2 already. Are there young people around? Luke?
Start with me. I think, the mining industry and PDAC is probably a representation, or probably one of the best representations of that. And yeah, you don't see a lot of young people around. And I think that's one of the challenges the industry is facing and has faced for quite a while. And I think, panels like this and discussions like this are really starting to identify that as an issue for the future, that we need to replace, some of the talent that there is in the mining industry today with a younger generation.
Absolutely. Caleb, you have a booth downstairs as well. Yesterday, one thing I've noticed, I didn't see as many students as I maybe used to see on previous years. I wonder if you share that same observation.
We had a couple students come by, but I think generally speaking, you're right. In previous years, say earlier on in my career, that's how I got started as a student. Not knowing anybody, just hitting the floor and meeting people and seeing what people are up to. I don't see as much of that anymore. I don't really know why, but it is an interesting observation.
Yeah, absolutely. Curtis, what are your thoughts? Like, where's the young crowd?
That's a good question. I've actually seen quite a few younger folks around. I don't know if they're students.
Okay.
Well, I've been coming to PDAC for a couple of years, not that long, so I don't have a ton of perspective there. But in my view, it's who's quite a few people I've met on the younger side. Optimistic for the future. It is one of the biggest challenges we deal with. It's finding good young people. I mean, particularly on the geology side. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I mentioned to this earlier before as well. Like, I've been trying to find some numbers on how many geologists actually graduate from Canadian universities. Just trying to get a sense what the trend is. Like, my gut tells me it's trending down, honestly. So I'm curious, like, if you have any observations there as well, Luke. In that regard, and then maybe we can also talk about Ghana, how that is a different, maybe different jurisdiction overall as well, and span that across two continents.
Yeah, I mean, in Ghana, it's one of the things that we're very fortunate is mining jobs are still some of the most sought after jobs in the country. So we probably get a couple hundred resumes come through our inboxes every single month with people looking for various positions within the mining industry. Ghana is an exporter of talent across West Africa, so being able to attract Ghanaians back to Ghana to work on our project or other projects is obviously a real benefit. And then there's 2 dedicated mining universities in Ghana, one in Kumasi, where a number of the major gold projects are, as well as in Tarkwa. So yes, I think there are a lot of challenges in Canada and North America, but what we're seeing is, a huge amount of talented, students in Ghana who are very eager to, to find jobs in country. And one of the ideas I've thrown out there is, maybe we need to start creating, more of a link between Ghana and some of these universities, or some of the, jobs in Canada with these universities in Ghana, to start creating that flow of talented students to fill some of the jobs that aren't being filled in North America today.
That's a great proposition. I think it's a great start to have those partnerships with other universities and bring some of these geologists, young geologists, motivated geologists across the pond.
Yeah.
Right. Caleb, you're down in the U.S., you're in Nevada and Oregon. I'm curious, where are you sourcing your young talent from, and what kind of trends are you observing?
Yeah, so our operational base is out of Reno, which is one of the big mining hubs of the Western U.S. And there's a school of mines, the Mackey School of Mines, right there in Reno, that continually pumps out high-quality talent, experience. They have a master's program dedicated to working with industry partners to allow students to get industry experience while learning a master's degree. And so there's always a good crop of talent that comes out of that. We work closely with that program as well, and have brought on a couple of people straight out of school in that. We have a great young team of 6 or so geologists that live in Reno, and there's a pretty thriving community. I mean, I guess part of it's your definition of young. We were talking earlier, you and I both turned 40 within the last couple of months, and I guess we're still called young, but it doesn't seem like it every day.
Well, they gave us the job to moderate a young guns panel here, so.
But yeah, but there are people coming in, in their 20s, which I would consider young, into the industry.
No, fantastic. Curtis, you're about to ramp up your first program ever on your project. Where are you sourcing your talent from? What are you looking for?
Yeah, really similar to Caleb, actually. It is a challenge, certainly. It's finding good people. We typically like to bring students early on in the summers, give them a chance to work with us, get to know how they work, introduce them to early stage exploration. It's really our focus. It's just, try to get to know students early on is the easiest in my opinion. With Seattle, there's another sort of half of our business. We own a drilling company, and we're sort of thinking of talent. There's sort of the geoscience side, engineering side. The drilling side is a whole nother piece, and it's hard. It's very hard to find good, young, motivated people that want to come in as a helper and work their way up to drillers. It's one of the biggest challenges that Caleb and I face in the U.S. on finding good, drill contractors that you can reliably get holes down at speed. But I have a great answer to that one. We do our best to find the right people.
No, personally, I actually love the composition of this panel because you're based in Africa, which has a completely different dynamic, I think, than North America. Let's talk first world versus third world. What are young talents looking for when they apply for jobs, with you guys at Newcore? And then we'll talk about how it's different in North America.
Yeah, and I think we need to be, careful how we define Africa and define anywhere in the world in terms of, third world, second world, first world, all the rest of it. Because again, if you look at Ghana, for example, it's got 3 of the top 10 largest gold producers on the planet. You've got Newmont, Anglo, Goldfield, all with significant operations in Ghana. So obviously, the number of people that they employ is huge. And then the number of service companies that are established in Ghana and West Africa as a whole is huge as a result of that industry and the major companies that are operating. I mean, if you look at West Africa, it is one of the largest gold producers in the world now. And as a result of that, you've got a huge amount of skilled labor who are operating there. So again, it goes back to a number of these jobs are the most sought after jobs. And as a result, you've got real competition to fill those roles. And anytime you got competition, as we all know, that allows you to, be flexible in terms of who you hire and ultimately get the best people for those jobs.
No, I think, and that's why I love the contrast. I think it's a bit different in North America because you as an employer, you have to peacock, right? You have to really stand out, and maybe we can talk about what are some of the strategies that you guys employ to attract young talent as well. And in Germany, we have a big debate about a 35-hour work week right now. Is that something you're offering?
So no, our business model and what we're trying to accomplish with the company does a lot of the work for us, I think, where we're a early stage, technically driven exploration group, and the high quality talent that's coming out of universities and industry with those skill sets, I think is biased towards the fun early exploration. There's a lot of excitement there. There's a lot of flexibility there, not quite as many constraints as, say, a big mining company might have on certain things. So, we've seen a lot of interest in our business and what we're doing, specifically with people approaching us, excited about what we're trying to accomplish and wanting to be part of it. So we've been very fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. Curtis, I'll ask you next time the same question first, because I feel like it's a very similar answer that's coming from your perspective as well. But is there anything you're doing in particular to stand out to a younger crowd? Like work-life balance is a thing that comes to mind, and the work from home discussion, right? So I'm curious, just...
And on really well, actually. It is inherently exciting for most geologists, like the early stage side. It's fun, prospecting and getting on the field. That's why a lot of us got into it. So I think that's relatively simple to attract good people there that, are sort of biased, want to be outside and do the hard work on that front. So, that strategy is getting to know people as soon as possible, trying to get into the different universities. And, I'm based out of North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene there, and there's a state school nearby, University of Idaho, and they're, they don't really have a mining presence. Reno, where Caleb mentions, they have a much bigger presence on the mining side. So one of the challenges sort of deal with there is there's not much mining exposure. We try to get in early. It's to know people and to share what we do, and hey, here's the mining industry, and I'm spread the word.
No, Luke, what we just talked about is like actually later stage. People already made the decision to go into mining and become a geologist. Like, how do we entice them to become geologists? How do we make that field more attractive? Because I think the number in total is declining. And how do we make this field, our industry, sexy again?
You want to answer that first?
Yeah, you could go ahead, Curtis, as well, of course.
Great question. I think the time I graduated class geologist, it was about 20 people. It's a smaller state school. I bet now it's half of that. So something changed in the meantime. Maybe back then there was quite a bit of interest. It's the last sort of bull run in metal prices. A lot of interest there, a lot of jobs. And we went through quite a long period of time where there wasn't a lot of work, a lot of students. So it's just getting that back out there that, hey, we're here, we're doing this work. Speaking mostly to the U.S., that's been my experience. But there's just a lot of people that have no idea. It's not like, I don't know, where it's a primary industry. Like I didn't see an active metal mine until I was
18, probably 20, so that's one of the struggles you deal with is just, exposing the industry and what it is and to everyone and finding the right people that it fits with.
Luke, same question to you guys. Like, what can we do to actually entice people to study geology and join the field?
Highlighting and educating are probably two of the biggest things. I mean, it is, as Curtis mentions, it's foreign to so many people, and you're often working in more remote locations, on site, potentially, spending time at a camp versus, going home at the end of the night. So, all of those things, I think there's an education process, but also what a meaningful career, the mining business can ultimately deliver for a student. And, the parts of the world it can take you to. I mean, you look at most geologists who've been operating for 25 or 30 years, they've lived in multiple different countries and had a lot of really, worldly experiences. You can't get that from a lot of professions. And I think that's something that, needs to be better described is, where mining can take you and all the exciting experiences it can ultimately lead to. So I think an education process, from the industry is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Our industry is often perceived as like traditional, old school. And I wouldn't say boring, because it's definitely not boring, but it's definitely old school and traditional, and maybe slow to adapt to certain things, especially technology sometimes. Kayla, like, how do we highlight that part a bit more, that we're actually the opposite? Because we're, like, oftentimes, like on the ESG side, I think we're quite innovative when it comes to that. We're employing AI now. There's a lot of technological advance over the last 10 years. Like, how do we highlight that more and make, show that side of the mining industry?
Well, I think the industry in general has not done a great job of explaining what we do and how it contributes to society, and that's really not widely understood. In a random sampling of the population, people don't understand how reliant they are on metals that are mined and people that explore and find those. So I think we can start there. It's just trying to do a better job and capitalize on a missed opportunity to educate, the world of how important metals and mining are and how we can do it responsibly. As you said, it's a big focus, and we've done very good at advancing that side. And the other component of that is it's exciting. We are treasure hunters. We're modern day treasure hunters, and we, build companies to go explore. I don't imagine how you can have anything more exciting than that. And perhaps we have a missed opportunity there, trying to get that enthusiasm and excitement out to the general public. So I think, there's a lot of things we can do better on that front.
That absolutely. Curtis, we discussed you were in the process of hiring a team for the first big program. And I'm curious, what kind of platforms do you use to sort of reach your target audience? Is it traditional, meaning you're just reaching out to the universities, or actually, I'm just not trying to put words in your mouth. Are you using Instagram, TikTok, just to reach a different audience and maybe find that geologist somewhere?
Probably something we can work on being better at. It's mostly just in person. I try to build relationships with universities, professors, there, because students will ask, I want to get a job at this someday, where would I go? And you're the first one that they think of. We try to start there, and then just try to be present around and be available for questions in person. So I'm a student. I had a lot of questions, and wasn't a really good place to learn. So I got fortunate, met a few people, and got the first job. But I think that's our approach to it. But I think there's probably additional means to do that better. We'd like to look into some more. And good question.
Talent is a really big topic. We need to acquire more talent and younger talent. We discussed numbers of dropping. You said Curtis, in your class, graduating class, we're 20. Now there's probably 10. I'm really trying to understand where that disconnect is coming from. Why is mining so unsexy? What are you're trying to understand it a little better as well. Maybe start from that way. Okay, why is that happening? And then we can change it.
Yeah, again, I think there's a misperception about, or a lack of understanding about the industry and all the exciting things it can lead to in terms of a career. And I think that's the biggest thing that needs to be, better described and highlighted to, to younger people is, people want to go backpack around the world. Well, become a geologist and you can spend the next 20 years of your life effectively visiting some of the most amazing places on the planet and some of the most remote areas that you'll never get to see with most other jobs or careers. So there's a whole element to the industry that I think there's a lack of, understanding with society in general, and I think that's something the industry needs to do a better job of ultimately, describing and highlighting to younger people, and whether that's through career days or those types of initiatives where, students who are in school, or potentially, down to the high school and elementary school level, where you're starting to, highlight, some of the exciting and interesting things that there is within mining. In Vancouver, where I'm from, there's the Britannia Mining Museum, which, if anyone hasn't been to it, I would highly encourage them to go visit that. But, I really have to give credit to the industry in Vancouver, where that, building and museum was falling apart about 20 years ago. And a group of, the leading mining companies and mining entrepreneurs in Vancouver took it over, have completely redone the entire thing. They brought Disney productions in a couple years ago to, put in a whole animated component to it. And you go to that now, and, as a student, or as a kid, and they encourage, obviously, student groups to visit there on a regular basis. You leave there going, wow, this is amazing. And it's, it's big machinery, and you're going underground and you're seeing drills. So, I think all of that kind of stuff contributes to it, and it probably does need to start at a much younger age. So getting elementary school and high schools engaged in in the mining industry, and that there's, a viable career to work towards, is something we can do a better job of.
Absolutely. My kids absolutely loved the Britannia mine. Absolutely loved it. So I think they went a few times while we were there. So absolutely. Caleb and Curtis as well. We got to talk about culture and inclusivity as well. Like it's a fairly male-dominated industry that we're in. Let's be frank. Let's walk the floor and you'll see it. That's a big pool that we're sort of leaving on the side. Like is the female component. I have to say. Like what can we do to attract the other sex to the mining industry as well? Like talking about inclusivity and diversity.
Yeah, well, I think it's tied into the previous points we've made about just generally speaking, getting more understanding of what it is the industry does for society and what the opportunities are, and somehow find a way to make that sexy. And I think, any of our groups would be a easy cultural fit for a diverse range of people. I don't think that's the problem fitting in. It's attracting those people who want to enter into that, into this industry. I think we're seeing some potential green shoots with the critical metals initiatives that are getting higher and higher visibility, just generally speaking, and getting people more and more interested in this. And, perhaps I hope that translates across the board through the rest of mining and gives us more visibility, more ability to attract that talent that's going elsewhere.
So Curtis is part of the inclusivity and diversity discussion as well. Like work-life balance, I think, plays a pivotal role in that as well. What are your thoughts on that, and how can we balance that maybe better?
Yeah, I think, it's challenging exploration because of the seasonality of the work, but our philosophy is just built around flexibility. So we don't do set rotations, except for on the drilling sides, or set way to do it. We plan field stints, and we build those around people have vacations, trips, birthdays, kids, things like that. I think that's worked well for us for the last 6 years that we've done this, and I think it allows you to have that balance still. Because life's complicated, if everything's not on a set schedule, it's hard as things come up. That's the way we try to do.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And I think we need to sum this conversation discussion up a little bit as well. Like looking ahead, like 10 years from now, what do you think the floor will look like? And what is your vision for the mining industry in that regard?
Yeah, I think we'll obviously see another generation that's coming in and leading the charge. I think there's a lot of exciting things. We've touched on technology, but you look at autonomous vehicles that have been in the mining industry for now over 5 years. You look at some of the stuff going on in Western Australia with driverless trains and underground mining that is all being done from the surface with with remote control drivers. So there's a lot of technology that's come into the industry that I think that will continue to evolve and attract a new generation of miners. And I think it's an exciting industry that lots of younger people should be ultimately attracted to.
Caleb, what's your vision for mining in 2020 or 2034?
Well, I've through my career seen ebbs and flows. It's a cyclical business, so the markets go up and down, and with that there are cohorts of people that enter and leave the business. And I think that explains some of the age gaps that are present on the floor here. In a long bear market, there's not a lot of junior companies hiring new people, and not a large crop of students coming into the business. When things come back up, there will be again excitement back into the sector, new people coming in. So I expect it'll be kind of the same as it's always been, where there are age gaps and there's good times and bad times, and new crops of quality people coming in. At least I hope that's the case, and hopefully we can find a way to smooth those curves out to some extent, but I think that's probably what it'll look like.
Curtis, I'm going to give you a bit of a different question then as well, because I don't think it's been comprehensively answered. I think to put a bow around it, what is some advice you'd give a young professional in the mining industry right now, or somebody looking at the mining industry? Like, how can we entice them? How can they prepare themselves to sort of apply and become part of our industry?
Yeah, I guess for people that are sort of in the industry, the biggest piece of advice is go to PDAC, go to conferences like this, meet people, would be amazed, people you run into on escalators. There's just countless things. The company we have now is a function of me going to Roundup opera years ago and coming to PDAC. And so that would be my main piece of advice for young people. But outside of the industry, to ask questions. I hope to see the Caleb mentioned the critical minerals rebrand. I think that's going on. I hope that continues and brings in more and more diversity for different walks of life. But yeah, ask questions about the industry, learn more about it.
Fantastic. Caleb, what's some advice you have for young talent?
Get out there. Don't be afraid to knock on doors, walk up to booths, learn new things, and interact with people in the industry if you're interested in it. Like Curtis said, it's all about being in the right place at the right time, and you don't know when that's going to be, so you gotta be out there.
Fantastic. And Luke, same question for you as well. How can young talent sort of prepare for the industry, and what's some of the advice you'd give them?
Well, I think maybe I'll answer it this way. I actually had a young person who wasn't involved in the mining industry at all, and in their 20s, and for the first time ever, I had someone say to me, "You're in mining. That's really cool." And I was like, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, mining. That's really cool. Like, all the kind of EV metals and this, that, the next thing." So I guess my advice would be that it is a really cool industry. It can take you to a lot of exciting parts of the world. It can be a very rewarding, industry to be in. So I would just, leave it with that.
No, fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I think it was a fantastic panel discussion. Really appreciate it, Luke, Caleb, Curtis. Thank you so much. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. This was here, we're at PDAC 2024 here on the CEO.CA stage. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back probably with a lot more.